Track and field makes history.
And tennis is victorious.
All this and more coming up on the Penguin Rundown. Welcome to this week's edition of the Penguin Rundown. I am Noah Ricks alongside my host Bryce Noel. And Bryce, it's been a pretty busy week for YSU sports. The track and field team's having a very busy weekend with 4 separate meets on the road, but the men and women's tennis teams coming up victorious as well.
And speaking of tennis, you know, the women had a hard-fought contest against Cleveland State, and the men taking on New Horizon League member Chicago State and taking those victories as well. But mentioning a sport that we didn't talk about just now is the softball team, and you'll start this off today.
The Youngstown State softball team played 2 doubleheaders this past weekend against St. Bonaventure University and Horizon League opponent Oakland University. The team split both doubleheaders, going 2-2 over 4 matchups. In the first game against the Bonnies, junior Sophie Howe pitched a 3-hit shutout en route to an 8-0 victory. The Penguins fell in the second matchup 4-2, splitting the series against St. Bonaventure. In the second doubleheader against Oakland, YSU lost a close matchup in 8 innings, falling 2-1 to the Grizzlies. The Penguins bounced back in the second game versus the Golden Grizzlies, taking home the win 6-1. Junior Sarah Fessler led the game with 3 hits against Oakland, which secured a YSU victory. Yesterday, the Penguins took on Niagara University in another doubleheader at home. For more information on the games, check out ysusports.com. The softball team is back in action on April 5th against Akron University in a doubleheader. First pitch is set for 3 p.m.
The YSU baseball team has been busy this past week. On March 28th, the team lost to Toledo 7-2. Despite the loss, sophomore catcher Ian Francis was the bright spot. Francis hit a home run as he went 2 of 3 from the plate. Francis was able to score both YSU runs. On March 31st, the Gwins opened their 8-game homestand against Purdue-Fort Wayne. Over the 3-game series, Purdue-Fort Wayne took Game 1 of the contest 12-9. Even in the loss, YSU recorded 12 hits as redshirt junior Trey Law, senior Braden O'Shaughnessy, senior Turner Graw, and senior Andre Good each had 2 hits for the team. In Game 2, it was a wild finish for YSU, which ended in a walk-off single in the bottom of the 9th by freshman Matt Thompson. The Penguins defeated the Mastodons 15-14. Freshman pitcher Cam Marshallowitz stood out as he was able to hold PFW to 0 runs until the 8th inning. PFW scored 5 runs in the 8th inning and 5 in the 9th. In the final game of the series, the Penguins lost to PFW 9-3. Thompson was able to hit his first career home run despite the loss. The Mastodons were able to score 9 runs over the final 2 innings. The Penguins stayed at Eastwood Field as they took on the University of Pittsburgh on April 4th. For more information on the game, check out ysusports.com. Youngstown State is back in action April 6th through the 9th to complete his homestand against Northern Kentucky.
It was announced on March 29th that the Youngstown State University bowling team qualified for the NCAA Bowling Regionals for the 3rd consecutive season. The regionals will be held on April 7th in Lansing, Michigan at the Royal Scott Golf and Bowl. The first round will feature the Penguins facing off against Maryville University at 9 a.m., while round 2 is scheduled for 3 p.m. For more information on the tournament, check out ysusports.com.
Women's tennis teams were back in action this past weekend as the women took on Cleveland State on Saturday and the men took on Chicago State on Sunday. For the women, the Gwins won in straight sets at number 4, number 5, and number 6 singles, while claiming 3-set wins at number 2 and number 3 against the Vikings. The Penguins' only doubles victories would come at number 2 by the team of Eliska Maskarova and sophomore Elisa Regazio by the score of 6-4. Youngstown State would ultimately win the contest by a final of 5-2. The women's team will be back at home next Friday when they take on New Horizon League member Chicago State. First serve is set for 11 a.m. Meanwhile, for the men's side, they would take the victory against Chicago State by a final of 4-3 at the HF Racquet Club in the Windy City. The Gwins would sweep the doubles competitions by taking victories at number 1, number 2, and number 3. In singles play, the men's team would take 3 out of the 6 matches played at number 1, number 5, and number 6. In singles matches, junior David Alvarez Moreno swept his way to a 6-0 and 6-1 victory. The men's tennis team will be back in action this week as they will travel tomorrow to take on Cleveland State and will be back home on Friday to take on Chicago State. First serves are set for 6 p.m. and 3 p.m.
YSU track and field had a busy week on their hands as they competed in 4 separate meets over the weekend. Despite the travel and weather, the athletes were able to set 3 school records overall. All 3 of those records were set in the state of Texas. For the women, Nia Williams-Matthews would beat a longtime record for a 12.54-meter jump at the Clyde Little Texas Relays on the men's side. Wyatt Lefker then achieved the pole vault record of 5.51 meters, beating his own record of 5.29 that was set back in May at the Midwest Regional. At the Texas State Bobcat Invitational, Weston McLean would beat the javelin record by just 0.01 meters with a mark of 66.99. Other accomplishments occurred at the Slippery Rock Dave Labor Invitational. Colson Koretz won the men's discus title by throwing 48.61 meters, while Milena Shoemaker earned a share of the women's pole vault with a height of 3.9 meters. To cap things off at the William and Mary Colonial Relays, Carly Hall earned a personal record in the women's 1500 meter with a time of 4:40.55 to place 10th, while Thomas Caputo finished 4th in the men's 5,000 meter run at 14:46.58. Another long week is set for the track and field teams as they will be at 3 separate meets between Thursday and Saturday. They will be at the Tennessee Invite in Knoxville, Tennessee, the Miami Alumni Invitational in Coral Gables, Florida, and the Akron Invitational in Akron. For results on all meets, go to ysusports.com.
The YSU women's lacrosse team became conference play in the Mid-American Conference, losing at home to Robert Morris 12-10. The Colonials started hot, scoring 4 unanswered goals in the first 5 minutes of the game. Graduate student Allie Corinne broke the shutout by scoring a goal. Corinne went on to score 2 more goals in the first quarter, securing a hat trick on the day. Corinne scored 2 more times in the game, matching a career high for her. Another milestone reached was sophomore Natalie Calandra-Ryan, scoring her 100th career goal, becoming the first Penguin in program history to reach that mark. The Penguins shut out the Colonials in the 3rd quarter and only allowed 1 goal in the 4th, but it was not enough as YSU took their first conference loss of the season. YSU traveled to Akron today, playing the Zips in conference play. The final results of that game can be found at ysusports.com.
Now let's send it over to Dylan Lux for a special edition of the Player Spotlight.
Thanks, guys. For this week's Player Spotlight, we're highlighting sophomore attacker Natalie Calandra-Ryan. Last season, she led the team in goals, points, shots on goal, and forced the most turnovers. This season has been just as prolific for Calandra-Ryan as she earned herself the Mid-Atlantic Conference Player of the Week award for her performances against Niagara and number 3 Northwestern. In the team's April 1st loss to Robert Morris, the sophomore attacker scored her 100th career goal. She is the first Penguin to ever reach this milestone, doing so in only 2 seasons of play. Natalie Calandra-Ryan will be back in action today at 5 p.m. against Akron University. For stats and more on Calandra-Ryan, visit ysusports.com. And congratulations to Natalie on a spectacular career so far here at YSU.
Thanks, Dylan, and that'll just about wrap it up here at the Penguin Rundown. You can follow us at each of our social medias here on Twitter and Instagram at Penguin Rundown 1. And you can check out, as always, ysusports.com for news, stats, scores, and more. I've been Bryce Noel.
I am Noah Ricks.
And as always, see you next week, Penguin Nation.